Alrighty, welcome to episode 3 of the Jiu Jitsu Journal. I'm Keegan Worthington. I'm joined by my co-host, Jack the Cake Carrasco. We are today covering Jacob Couch versus ADCC East Coast Trials. So I guess I'll just start off by saying kind of obvious. He kind of just runs through the competition in these matches. And also these are multiple matches, but in one video. So I usually like to go off the match time, but today we're going to have to go off video time. I'm going to drop the link for the YouTube video that we're using in the Spotify and Podbean descriptions, but YouTube you can just follow along if you want to watch along. Alrighty. But yeah, he just kind of runs through everyone, and we decided to do kind of an athlete study instead of a match study this time. So we can go through his entire game and how it worked in all these different matches. So just kind of a newer kind of episode that we're doing. But yeah, anything you wanted to say before we get started?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of echoing the same thing. Kind of runs through trials here, and with largely the same game plan for every match.
Yeah.
It just works.
There's little adjustments in the later matches, but most of the time it's just the same game plan.
Yeah, same game plan.
And we'll talk about it later. But opening thoughts just on the athlete themselves. We're not really going to cover many of his competition. I mean, there are notable names, but I'm not trying to be mean. But a lot of these guys are not the biggest names in grappling or jiu-jitsu. What we'll find in ADCC, even in the future. As the sport has become more popular, it's become known that these trials are getting more and more packed, and the fact that he has to compete 7 times to get to ADCC is a testament to how big these competitions are getting, and they're going against people that I have no idea who some of these people are.
Yeah, it's a very weird competition to me, because in terms of grappling, it's essentially an Olympic qualifier. And you could be getting hobbyists in your bracket, which that's kind of strange.
I forget how much it is to sign up. It's only $100 or something.
Yeah, it's
right?
the same as any normal registration. And you can potentially go to ADCC, which is cool in a way, because then you could skyrocket your career overnight. But it's also odd. It's
very odd. We'll talk a little bit about Jacob Couch too before we get started. I think I first started hearing about Jacob Couch because I was a Wilsey guy. I really liked Andrew Wilsey, and I thought he was gonna really blow up. And he's kind of just gone off into the sunset. I don't know. He's gone radio silent for his own particular reasons. We don't have to get into it.
Yeah, I mean he has a whole other thing going on.
It's not our place to say this or that, right? So, but Jacob Couch kind of has now the big pedagogue guy. He's the one waving the flag up there with Dante. But I kind of heard about him from the Daisy Fresh and through Andrew Wilsey talking about how talented he was with leg locks and stuff like that. And I think I started paying attention to him in purple belt, and then he started to gain steam brown belt, and now he's very, very good, and he's
crushing,
destroying.
Yeah.
So that's what I know about him. Is that any different than the way you heard about him?
No, kind of largely the same. From the Daisy Fresh, because I followed Wiltsey and all that. I think the first thing I saw of him was some clip from when they were still in the Daisy Fresh gym, of him showing somebody a fall sweep. I was like, wow, this guy is pretty good.
Yeah.
And then very shortly after that, I saw him competing WNO and IBJJF, just kind of doing everything.
Yeah, and I kind of like this about him too, is he does not really scared or choosy about his competition. He just goes in there. And
he just competes.
It's and cool. He doesn't really play that game. It's more even if I lose, that's a chance to get better. Even taking that Gordon match, he was just
yeah, that to me was super cool. Because I think he was still a brown belt at the time.
Yeah, it was a lamb going to the slaughter. Let's be completely honest.
But still lasted I think 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And I'm sure took away many valuable lessons from the match. I mean, even though he lost.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what that level feels like.
Yeah. But we'll talk about more aspects of his game. But I guess I'll just bring it up one more time or just this before we get started. I thought, reading about him, I thought he was a wrestler. I think he had talked about being a wrestler in school before he came to Jiu Jitsu, which is also just really funny to me because he's such an heavy guard player. Because I'm pretty sure his introduction to grappling in general was wrestling, and he's a heavy guard player,
almost exclusively guard player. Although I didn't know that, but that would kind of explain something later on in this that I noticed that he seems very relaxed in his stand up.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that the later matches, but yeah, no, that's what I knew about him. So him becoming this. He was known as one of the wrestling guys who came to Pedigo and then became the leg lock guy.
Yeah.
From playing a guard player, which is just an interesting development in someone's game. And you don't see that happen a lot. It's usually person comes in, is a wrestler, and then they just continue to wrestle the whole time.
Yeah. They just build a game around wrestling.
Yeah.
That's their thing.
Alrighty. So we are starting at the 1 second mark of this match or this video because they just get right to it. There's no foreplay at all with this video. We're just starting right at the beginning. Yeah. They're immediately squaring up, and I think they literally just go combate, and it starts. So we're starting right away with our first match. Right? So immediately sits guard.
Just right away.
I don't know this Morales guy, but he's a typical, I'll say, ADCC competitor. Very front heavy. And again, we were talking about this before it started. He's immediately going to 2-on-1. I paused it at the 21 second mark.
Yeah, very much prioritizes getting two hands on one limb, or both of his legs to one leg. Couch really likes half guard. For his own half guard game, but also for using it to force close guard, which he does quite a bit through these matches.
Yeah, it's closed, half butterfly.
Yeah.
Those are the three that he kind of just swings between.
Yeah, just kind of cycles through them.
And Morales is immediately going for a body lock here. Starting up again. And then back to close guard.
Gets, I believe, 2 overhooks there.
Pausing at 36.
Goes to butterfly guard and uses butterfly guard to off balance and swing his legs to close guard, which is where he really wants to be.
Which, again, it's become more footage we're watching, the more I'm realizing how prevalent overhooks and close guard are becoming.
When I was watching this last night for notes, I knew immediately you would bring up overhooks this whole time because it is a lot of his game. Is overhooks to closed or overhooks from close guard and half guard.
And it's funny because I wonder if it's an adaptation to the popularity that is a body lock passing, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's one of the reasons why.
Yeah.
And it's just how the game adapts and flows and the meta changes. But I don't know. This whole overhook thing that's starting up again is pretty cool, and I like it. And it's no coincidence that you see Jacob Couch using it, and then also Mika using it, and then spoilers. I mean, maybe sneak peek. We might be covering Fabricio soon, and he uses it a lot.
And kind of an interesting point there. Between Couch and Mika, who both use overhooks a lot, also have really good close guard games.
Mm-hmm.
And prioritize close guard in their game.
Yeah. All right, starting up again. But yeah, he's kind of Morales is pressuring forward in this close guard, and he's doing the basic posture up. And if you had audio to this, that's what his coach is yelling.
Yeah.
Posture! And he's immediately trying to get the arm across, that 2-on-1. Arm on the elbow, or hand on the elbow, hand on the wrist. And then goes back for an overhook. Yeah, Morales is just pressuring in close guard, just being mean, putting his head down.
Yeah, literally like looking at the opposite ceiling, just trying to keep his posture as the best he can.
Yeah.
Couch threatening his overhooks over and over again.
And then here at about 130 mark, we see Couch entering this like K guard entry, right, from the close guard with an overhook.
Yeah, he from close guard and from half guard loves scooping legs. It is like kind of the foundation of his game, especially in these matches. And can kind of branch a lot of different offense off of just that one grip. So from here you'll see with the overhook, use it to kind of threaten an arm bar sweep scenario.
Yeah. And I would make the argument that this is actually where I first started learning my leg attacks from, in my leg entries from bottom. And I guess, two, is one I would recommend to people who aren't really comfortable with inverting yet, because there's a lot of like these nimbly bimblies entries where you're lifting and people, this is probably the most barbaric, like brute force way to enter a leg lock position, but it's always been my favorite. Right.
Yeah, I personally use K guard quite a bit. Because I mean, I guess you could say like sort of like more advanced entries are like a little more like invert heavy. But like especially from close guard, like just as they posture, scoop a leg, throw over, feels like super easy.
Well, and also I found it from like when I first started, it was from half guard. When I really started,
Yeah, scooping the far leg and half guard.
Scooping the far leg and just peeling it up towards your head and letting your knee slide across their hip and you just go over. That has always been my favorite leg entry, and it's, I don't want to say it's a stupid leg entry, but it's a very simple, easy to understand one that if you start doing it and just let your hips connect to the person's leg, you'll be cooking with gas. But yeah, we started up again at 132 we are. And then this is when he's threatening armbar, flower sweep, leg entry combo, like all three. Whatever you do, he's got an option.
Yeah, you see him clamming his legs up higher, kind of almost shows the arm bar and uses it to sweep him into mount.
Which is funny. I wonder, we're at the 2-minute mark. I wonder if he kind of regrets it. Going like, I would rather give up the arm than be we're pausing it at 2:11. He passes right to an arm triangle from mount, but he goes from flower sweep to mount to arm triangle. And I think someone who's probably been doing jiu-jitsu longer would say, I would rather you just go for your armbar and I tried my armbar escapes than be in a top mount with a guy peeling my arm up for arm triangle, because this is a worse position to me than I think.
Way worse than someone on bottom armbarring you.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like I would rather like you're in a submission, but it's a much like riskier submission than going to your back.
Yeah.
So, but maybe also he was confident in his mount escapes and thought he could like get out. Maybe he didn't really do that much thinking, but it does look like he compromises a little bit and keeps his arms just hidden. You know what I mean? He does. It feels like he chooses one, Morales, here. And this is just a great dilemma. Because he keeps his hands locked, and then he keeps it locked, and then he feels his posture going. And he just keeps his arms locked the whole time.
Yeah.
But yeah, then they...
and even here, still has his hands locked.
Yeah. And then Jacob Couch, around this 2:09 mark, steps off for an arm triangle. I don't really have much to say about this now, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit at the end of this match. But he's really squeezing on this.
Yeah, really fights his arm triangle for quite a bit.
Steps right back.
Turns back to full mount. I think the idea here is, because it's kind of hard to see in the previous angle, but I believe Morales is like kind of telephoning. Maybe he has his hands locked. So I think Couch returns to full mount to try to peel that a little bit more before he steps back off. And I believe somewhere in here he kind of makes a decision to use this like grip around his head to switch to a back take.
Which is what I was going to ask before. He tries to finish the arm triangle both ways twice. And then he kind of turns. And this is where I'm like, was the first one actually legit anyways?
Yeah.
Was he trying to bait the back take even with the old arm triangle? Then he takes the back. Throws in a body triangle. And you can't really see. I'm pretty sure we don't even see the finish because of the camera work.
Yeah, I think the finish is kind of facing away in this moment, but
yeah, they're just hand fighting. Jacob Couch works his arm around, eventually gets the choke.
Actually, I'm curious if you bring it back to the first arm triangle.
This is where I wanted to talk about it. I think it was all just bait. We are back at 2:15 right now.
Because the thing that I just thought of is that yeah, because this would have been a 6-minute match, so the points would have came on at 3 minutes. So that might have been part of his thinking there.
Well, I'm
waiting for points and then forcing the back take.
This is my theory. It could be Jacob Couch's arm triangle finishing mechanics, and maybe he just does it with his arms. But his hips are really high to be finishing an arm triangle. However, his hips are high enough to slide into a back take.
True.
So after seeing that second one and how fast I'm going to cut between the two, he does it. He's able to get this second back take because his hips are higher, and then he just slides his knee behind.
Yeah.
And then slides into back. So I can't tell because I'm not trying to roast Jacob Couch's arm triangle technique. We're back at 219 now. But his butt is really high up, and that's not even even in basic, like when I first learned my arm triangle, I was always told keep your hips low.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's just trying to squeeze out with his arms or he's going, I'm going to keep my hips high because I want him to turn to his back because I'd rather take the back.
And I think it might be a double thing here, right? Of one, preparing himself for that back take, and two, because now they're so close to points and like ADCC rule set of I want to keep my hips higher no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So that if he does somehow like break free of this threat, that like I'm still gonna be on top.
Yeah. But yeah, now we're cutting back to back control. There's not much to say that we can say about it. We're at the 340 mark because we just can't see any of the hand fighting.
Yeah. I will say it's interesting because he never even traps a hand here. So to me, it looks like a body triangle and then just two strangle hands, just digging back and forth.
And I think he probably
until one of them gets in.
It looks one-handed or a short. Oh no, you see him move his head to get his hand behind the head. There we go. And he gets the tap. But yeah, that guy came out super aggressive. We're moving on to our second match at the 416 mark. Is there anything else you wanted to say about that first match?
I mean, it'll kind of be sort of like a overview thing at the end, but just to, I guess, kind of like reiterate what his plan was for that first match: pull guard, half guard, close guard, and then offense from there.
Yeah,
which will come into play later.
All right, starting up the second match, immediately sets the guard. And then O'Neal just pressures into him to body lock him. 2-on-1s, forearm.
Here's transition to half butterfly.
Butterfly.
Going for forearm drags and scoops.
Very active, making his opponent post with that hand. Constantly posting with that hand. Just dumb.
He has locked his hands. And This entry to me is
We're pausing it at the
really cool.
5-minute mark.
Because I don't think I've really seen anyone else do this besides Couch. So normally, because I've seen a couple different ways this entry happens. Sometimes people will grab the leg and like spin all the way through to get that like top leg over. Sometimes they'll leave that where it is and like just pull the leg up in like a single leg X. I've seen from Craig do this where he will almost go all the way over and kind of like flipper the knee shield foot inside, so that when he pulls it back, he's now on like a single leg X and then can like pummel from there. Couch does something interesting here where he has a half butterfly, and as he scoops the leg, just takes it out and throws it over the far hip.
Yeah.
Which is kind of ballsy in a way. Because since he doesn't have the leg all the way to his head yet, like there is kind of a degree of back exposure. But this will kind of come into play like as the matches go on. He is super confident in his outside positioning of just like not getting his back taken.
Yeah.
That he just like goes for it.
Yeah, he kind of is like a. We'll go over it more, but he's like a dog on a bone, pit bull.
Yeah.
Just when he gets that ankle, he just locks it, and he's like, "You can try to make your way to your back, but you're gonna lose your ankle.
I'm gonna take your leg.
You're like, I'm gonna break your foot before you get to my back," which is again, it's ballsy.
Yeah, it's really ballsy. But I love it.
Yeah. But yeah, again at the 5-minute mark, he just grips it, just full on rips it across. His opponent tries to. Yep.
Yeah, and very quick heel hook.
Yeah, very quick heel hook. Within just a couple seconds of getting outside Ashi.
And I will say something that benefits him here is as soon as he goes here, that top hand is going to the lower leg.
Yeah.
Right. Which I think is part of why he's so confident in going to outside positioning. Is that he focuses really heavily on pulling the lower leg to him, not like the knee and above.
Yeah. Yeah. He gets that grip so fast.
Yeah, he's really quick at digging for the heel.
Yeah. Yeah. We're such a lackadaisical flex.
I love his celebration pose.
I love how like I can't even pause before the match. He's already like sitting guard. Like we're at the 5:18 mark. I hit 5:19. Like the guy's hand is dropping to start the next match that we're at, and he's already sitting back.
Yeah.
To sit guard. But anything else you wanted to say about that match? That one was really quick.
Yeah, really quick. But again, half guard, half butterfly, scoop to the leg.
Yeah.
A very foundational aspect of his game plan.
So starting the next match at 5:19. Kambach immediately sits the guard, and our opponent goes to his knees and. Okay, I'll give him some credit here. Immediately just tries to do more Toriando type passing, outside passing.
Yeah.
Which is what I would recommend against someone like Couch.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend the kind of passing this guy's doing currently.
And he just also slapped him in the head.
Yeah, it also gets a little physical here, but yeah, trying to pass around the outside, force angles, which, if you think about it, in terms of passing against someone with like really good seated guard, is going to make them work a lot harder, right? If you just pressure in and try to body lock them or force half guard, like one, that's his game, but two, it's very energy efficient for the guy on bottom, right? Because now he's just playing a static guard. Whereas if you try to, force angles back and forth standing, the guy on bottom has to match you, right? He has to work to keep that angle.
Yeah. And we're at the 6 around. Okay, so I stopped it, and then we go back to this like 6-minute mark, and he forces the guy to his knees, and then he clamps down the half guard to keep him on his knees, because he would rather have him in a half guard than running around Toriandos, obviously. He doesn't want him on his feet. And again, you can already see him scooping. As soon as he loses half guard, goes right for a butterfly hook. And you can tell this guy's just trying to get away from him.
Yeah, a lot of Couch's plan here is pulling him back into his guard, while his opponent is trying to posture up and away, trying to stand back up.
So around the 6:30 mark, he gets free and stands up again. He's really just hitting him.
Yeah. You can almost see Couch's face in that moment, like, really, dude?
Well, I think he's letting him know how he feels about him pulling guard. Again, as soon as he's on his knees, you can't do anything on your knees. And there we go. Okay, I want to pause and go a little bit back. Around the 7-minute mark, he puts this like, I don't know what to. I honestly don't remember. I don't see this that often, and it kind of stuck out to me.
Yeah. So, one guy that I do know who does this is Robert Deagle. Does a lot of like seated kind of basami, which is essentially kind of what Couch does here, where he throws a butterfly hook with his outside leg, and then his inside leg is like a shin on shin in the other direction, right? So he kind of has his legs like X'd on his opponent's shin. And you'll see what he looks to do here as the sequence goes on is kind of invert to the inside once his opponent drops to match level, so that his right leg in this case can almost kind of backstep behind and capture the knee line of that leg. So his top leg in this case is going to become like his like inside like saddle leg essentially.
Yeah. And what I was telling the other day, just talking before the podcast, we were rolling the other day, and Jack did this to me, and you might look at it and be like, nah, that doesn't look that bad. You can't move that leg. I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know. It's like, that looks so weak. Like, why don't you just like pull his leg back? It's not moving. I'm just letting you know now. I tried. It's not moving.
It is like oddly effective because you have kind of like counter force in both directions.
Yeah.
And there's like kind of offense in either direction. Like,
yeah, you try to lift that leg and then you realize you are gonna have to lift their entire hips with your foot.
Yeah,
it's hard. But it's very effective to like, and not necessarily like if you lead somewhere particularly, like if anything, like it slowed me down. Like,
yeah, it's a really good like kind of sticking them in place,
just planting them
kind of grip.
Yeah. And it was effective, and it's effective here, and it's something I kind of want to play with more. But starting up again at 7 minutes, and then they just falls right into this false reap, right?
Yeah, essentially, kind of a very similar movement. So, he drops down, partially because Couch kind of pulls that bottom ankle. Again, that right leg is already out, right? Because it was on the like facing outside his shin.
Yeah.
So now that right leg can base out to help him invert. His left leg's already inside, and he can backstep. I believe he probably has a gable grip around the knee as well.
Yeah, he had
pull that
one.
knee line in.
It was almost like a false reap, but he just skipped a couple steps.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh, well, I got a couple things. And he gets a fast tap on as soon as he passes that leg into like a reaping type position. He gets the tap.
Yeah. And again, very interesting theme that is from Couch is he really heavily favors outside positioning, right? Like has essentially saddle, but instead of trying to dig for the heel and saddle, passes it to the outside. Where now he's almost like in like diagonal ashi. He has like a really deep reap on the leg, which just gives him like a really great bite on the heel.
Yeah, and I'll say this: I think it's also a trend. Probably talk about it at the end, like especially with just athletes and like the sport in general.
Yeah.
So, but it is a trend that people I think are favoring these outside positions more to saddle, even because I think people find themselves in saddle so often that their defense from there is getting really good.
Yeah. I mean, as you can see, like as soon as he entered saddle, his opponent here, Lamanna, immediately turned the angle, hit his second leg, hit a couple rolls. Obviously, couch recovered it, but like was hiding his heel really well.
Yeah.
Because people were so familiar with saddle.
Mm-hmm. All right, and he got the tap really fast. And that's also a scary position when they throw that leg over the reap because, like, honestly, it's like you don't even need like sometimes a grip on the heel to cause damage to someone's leg. You can just like
the leg's already so compromised there. Like you're kind of already in position for like Z locks and all other sorts of like really nasty submissions. So
yeah, we are at the 7:40 mark, and this is gonna be like the start of the fourth match against Barrocas. Yeah. And he sits guard.
He sits guard.
Sits guard again. Same kind of game. Again, this guy's doing the right thing, if you ask me. Trying to get him not seated, but on his back. A lot of outside passing, which is so annoying to grapple someone where you want to be outside passing because it's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting to outside pass.
Yeah, it's effective.
We're
passing.
pausing at the 8:20 mark
because, like Keegan said, you can kind of force someone to play supine instead of seated, but it is more energy. Right, you have to be moving on your feet and creating angles, and like really put a pace and work on somebody. Right, you can't really outside pass slow, so it is more taxing, but it's also more effective.
And it's again one of those things where it's more taxing for us because of what we do, right?
Yep.
So it's like because we're grapplers and we're doing isometric stuff.
Yeah.
When you tell us we got to move fast, that drains us.
Yeah, I'm sorry, what?
Sorry, can I go home? Can't I just squeeze them? So it's like I can, like, pressure passing takes like not as much energy for grapplers because that's what we're used to doing.
Yeah, it's like you take like an hour-long practice, right, of like just straight rolling. You try to Toriano pass the entire hour or like body lock pass the whole hour. I guarantee you can body lock pass the entire hour very easily. Right?
Yes.
Toriano passing, you're going to be pretty tired at like 30 minutes in. Like,
yeah, and I think too, it's like it's just how the sport is. Like, it's especially if you build your body for this sport, you're going to be most likely better equipped to inside pass. Which is but reason why wrestlers outside pass a lot more. It's because they have the energy for that.
Yeah,
they're built for that. And then he also at this 7:20 mark, he does the same thing we saw last match.
Yeah, the little kind of cross shin.
Yeah, cross shin. What did you call it, Kami Basami?
I mean the kind of like backstepping move he did, I would say is like what you would call Kane Basami. This, I guess, kind of like double shin on shin.
Yeah, it's weird. I guess it's just an X guard positioning on, right? Yeah, it's an X guard positioning just on their shin.
Yeah,
not on the far leg. That's double hooks.
Yeah, I'm sure someone somewhere has a name for it. But
yeah,
whatever.
I don't care. It's that thing.
It's that thing.
Whatever. It's that thing. Yeah. But it's really good. But again, he's attacking posture. He just wants to get him on his knees. Again, he attacks it again. We're at the 7:38 mark. Still tries his cartwheel. And then immediately lands on his knees and he's in Couch's world again. Just locking him down in half guard. Attacking a lot of these 2-on-1s on the far side.
And here, so
pausing at the 9-minute mark.
It's something that I took note of in a later match. But that 2-on-1 that Couch does at the wrist, his game plan, it seems like to me, is to actually kind of pull the hand into a crossface, right? In this case, the guy pulls his arm back and then just has to crossface him anyway. But I guarantee you, if Couch is able to hold on to their wrist, what he would do is pull it like into a crossface so that he can enter into it's kind of like shoulder crunch, arm saddle position. You'll see from here what you. I think he kind of loses essentially, but a lot of different options from there. Sweeping, bring the kind of knee shield leg over the shoulder to enter into like Choi bar offense.
Yeah. And constantly using this hook to elevate, and then he goes to an outside Ashia on the far leg and gets his straight ankle grip. He gets a tap with an outside heel hook again.
So actually, I watched this back a couple times. I think it's still a straight ankle.
Oh, really? Can I? Yeah. We're hitting this into like slow mo real fast while we watch this sequence again.
So in kind of like a half butterfly here, his opponent kind of like, I mean, it's partially Couch elevating him. His opponent is also kind of like raising his posture a little bit, which Couch uses to bring that butterfly hook around the outside of the hip, immediately entering into an outside Ashi.
And I think this is interesting because, again, it's a misdirection where he's doing what he should be doing to enter. Like, I think what happens is, too, Couch has this grip on this far leg.
Yeah.
Right? First. So what that does is it makes this guy think he's going saddle.
Yeah.
Him just tapping that ankle immediately gives him the response of, oh, he's attacking that leg, and then he switches.
Yeah, then he switches to,
boom.
Actually, I want this leg.
Yeah, and then he goes, no, I'll take that one instead. And then it's easy for him to slide to that far leg.
Yeah. And again, focusing on pulling the lower leg to him to minimize back exposure. Initially goes to a straight ankle, which couches a really mean straight ankle. Forcing a roll over to the far hip. And so initially he is digging for a heel here. And what I noticed is the opponent here, Barrocas, does a really good job of using his other foot to push Couch's hand off the heel. But then Couch just slips it to a straight ankle. Because Barrocas' heel is still visible.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So really good decision making in the moment by kind of both of them there. Barrocas on defending the heel hook, but then Couch on immediately switching to a straight ankle.
And you can tell it's tight because he honestly doesn't need that much leverage. Like, I don't know. This is also, like, we covered Keegan last week.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking a little bit in that episode about why his straight ankle didn't work. And we were saying it was because his arm positioning was bad. If you want to compare the two, you can go back and watch that match and this one. You can see this is a good arm positioning.
Yeah. Like, the fact that it almost looks like a heel hook is good. Yeah. Because it means that his arm is really tight up to the foot. I imagine he also has his hands locked on the far side in probably either a figure four or potentially a wrist roll, which I'll talk about later because I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
Gets the tap. Straight ankle. Makes straight ankles great again. Yep.
Yeah. And like, you can tell it was tight because the other guy is not even standing up yet.
Yeah, and it's one of those things I feel bad. I bet like straight ankles, you're going to see a lot more damage from straight ankles nowadays too because people just don't respect them. All right, now we're at like the 952 mark.
Yep.
And we're going against his hardest match.
Yeah, this was definitely his hardest match, which is almost kind of surprising considering who he has later. But
yeah,
Garmo, I would say, does the best job out of everybody here.
It does make me actually want to look into more of Garmo because to me, this was a guy I didn't really know about. But he does a very good job. And like he knows he's a leg locker. You can tell immediately this guy, he keeps his legs really freaking far away.
Really sprawls his feet back of like, okay, you can take my arms, I guess. I do not want you scooping my leg.
But also is a reason why you see Couch do more shoulder and like shoulder top body heavy attacks in this match. Because now he's having to go for a Kimura Choi bar entry around this 10-minute 40 mark.
And really just kind of a beautiful entry here. Yeah, swings the top leg over, releases his half guard leg so that both of his legs can go to the body. Very quick sequence here, but kind of 2 body legs and an arm bar. Takes one of them out to then go to like a side triangle threat. He spins through. He has 2 body legs. Takes his left leg out, triangle. And this is kind of funny. It gets kind of spiked in his head here.
We're at the 10:50 mark.
Yeah.
Garmo's about to say, about to try and cripple Jacob Couch.
Yeah. This is an old tombstone pile driver here.
He's trying to hillbilly hammer. Boop.
Yeah.
But good by Jacob for protecting himself and rolling. He tucks his head.
Yeah, granted, does do somewhat good of a job of tucking his head and kind of going with it, but it could have been very bad.
Yeah.
And lands in a side triangle here.
Which is honestly dead to rights a lot of the time.
Yeah, and
we're at the 11-minute mark. This is like a dead to rights and one of the best kind of dilemma situations you can find yourself in jiu-jitsu, I've found.
Yeah. I love side triangle. Yeah, it is because like Keegan said, there's kind of so many threats from here. There's the triangle, there's separating the hands, going back to Kimura, receiving like wrist locks because you have the arms isolated. It's just a really great position.
Yeah. Garmo does a really great job of moving and staying strong here, though.
Yeah. And I will say, an interesting thing here with the side triangle. So normally, when I see people lock side triangles, so say like Couch as the person locking it, when they were on their side, generally people will like belly out to get the leg deeper to lock it tighter. And I think it's partially because of how Garmo's defending, but he likes to kind of come up to like almost kind of like a Kimura position of like on his knees.
Like you're pinching your knees.
Like you're pinching your knees together in order to lock the triangle tighter and then falls back, which I find pretty interesting.
Yeah. He tightens it up here. This looks like hell.
Yeah, this looks really tight. And granted, I think the only way Garmo gets out of this is because of the defense he uses of bridging really strong up over that shoulder, because it forces a weird angle on Couch where he would have to react really quickly in order to save the triangle. So see, he kind of gives up the triangle because of this defense, but really smart move on Garmo's part here.
And right here, I like this.
Yeah, I think those hands. I do not want that arm to get
no, you don't want
across my center line.
Yeah. He's very much pushing, and I guarantee he has the reaction that as soon as if he feels that arm getting hooked, he's just going to switch back to like an S or something. Yep. And then he grabs his own wrist and rolls through and tries to spike him again. But Jacob Couch lets him out of here because I think he realizes that I'm not. This isn't the position I want.
Yeah.
And he probably understands his resetting is more advantageous to him because he probably has more ability to attack from there.
Yeah. So one thing I will say, if you back it up a little bit and then kind of go slow-mo here.
Okay.
So kind of right in this sequence when he bridges.
We're at the 11:26 mark going into like slow-mo.
So Garmo does a really good job. Pause right here. Garmo does a really good job of as soon as he bridges over, immediately posturing which is a really good choice on his part, because bridging over, while it does force a weird angle on couch, if he were to then almost kind of like octopus Garmo's hip and turn his knees down, like his hips down to the mat, could potentially put Garmo in like an even worse triangle, where now he has kind of like hip pressure bridging down,
Right.
Which would make the triangle almost like even tighter. So it's a really smart decision on Garmo's part here to bridge and then immediately posture up, which denies Couch that kind of counter to his counter, which is why I think he just lets go of the triangle. Because now he's in a position where it's like, okay, now I have to either one, like roll him back somehow into where I had him, or I might get spiked on my head again. So
yeah,
he just kind of lets it go and resets. He thinks about like, okay, make a scoop the leg, and then I'm just gonna push him away and reset.
Yeah. So, and honestly, Garmo does something coming up here, which I think is actually a great thing that he does, and it's a great. So, he doesn't like the shoulder attacks, obviously.
Yeah.
And instead of just being completely scared of Couch's leg attacks, he goes, "I'm gonna try to lead the charge." Which isn't exactly the worst idea in the world.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I know he's a leg locker.
Doesn't mean
he just put me in a triangle, so obviously I'm still in a threat there. Okay, I'll try to leg lock him back.
And I think it's one of these things that we get so scared. Like, I'll just pause it real fast. This is kind of an anecdote around 12:10. Like we have Cody at the gym. He's massive, right? And so like, a lot of the times the only thing I can do to compete with him is do leg locks. Yep. And a lot of the times he says he's so scared to engage in leg locks with me because he feels like he's going to lose, right? Because he's at a disadvantage. But there's something to be said that, yeah, you like the leg locker is probably going to have a better chance of beating you. But if you lead the charge and you start the charge and you start with better grips than your opponent, you are still have the advantage no matter what.
Yeah, you're still ahead.
You're still steps ahead. Like, I don't know. And I think there's something to be said about if you have someone that's a leg locker, it's not the worst thing in the world to go to their game to beat them.
Yeah, to just take initiative and do it first.
And sometimes they don't expect it. Like,
yeah. Like I have this a very similar experience with Will in the gym, where he does it occasionally, and I feel like he would have way more success if he did it more, of just trying to leg lock me first.
Yeah.
I mean, like I can feel it, I can sense it, that like if he were to just take initiative and try to leg lock me first, like his grips are really good no matter what he does.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure he would find a lot of success if he just did it more.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I don't know, just like if you're scared of the leg lock game, don't be so scared that you don't engage in it. Because sometimes that's your best route to success, even against someone that is better.
Yeah.
At that very thing, you can still beat them there if you learn it. But yeah, at the 12 mark, Garmo, he says, "All right, I'm just going to try and lead a charge into the leg locks." Now it's a pretty kind of sloppy attempt, but still. It leads.
Yeah, it leads to more offense. Like almost kind of gets a diving back take on him. Couch kind of kicks him in the head here, but
yeah, and we're slowing it down or pausing around the 12:30 mark. But again, what it does is it opens up different offense, and now Jacob Couch as a guard player has to do things to not get leg locked that open up other options.
Yeah, because like while Couch is probably the better leg locker, he does have to react. Like, he has to defend if you attack his legs, because otherwise you're going to get his legs.
Yeah.
Right. So it forces at least some reaction out of Couch.
And I would just recommend, like, if you're having a problem with a guard player, it's okay to try and leg lock him.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, Jacob does same thing. But Garmo still ends up in a front headlock here at around the 13, 17 mark because of the scrambles he created using leg lock attacks.
Yeah. He kind of forces, I would say, kind of like suboptimal reactions from Couch, where kind of like dives on a heel without much like leg position, and then tries to use that to come up into like a pass. But because he never had his legs like entangled per se, Garmo was able to get higher hip position and like kind of deny the pass to the front headlock. So kind of like through being offensive towards Couch has kind of generated a scramble where now he can get some offense going.
And it's no coincidence that this is his hardest match. And
Yeah.
because Jacob Couch cannot play his game. He forces Couch out of his game.
Yeah.
And it's no coincidence that the match that's the closest is the one he doesn't play close guard. He isn't able to play half guard as well, and he's not able to play that half butterfly.
Yeah.
It's no coincidence. Now they're doing a reset. I'm just going to skip ahead to the reset because they just debate about grips, which is its own game in itself.
Yeah.
Pro tip, just get the most dominant grip possible and be adamant about it. Play the game.
Yeah.
I don't like Keegan. That's cheating. You're not trying.
Yeah. It's trials.
It's trials. I'm sorry. Do you want to win?
Yeah.
This is a pro stalling, pro grip advantage podcast. It's like, oh, you guys are pro stalling. Well, I'm pro winning.
You're on top, you know.
I'm pro winning. I'm pro. Yeah. I'm sorry. Like, I'm going to tell my athlete if they want to win. If I'm coaching my athlete and I want them to win, I'm going to be like, yeah, get the most advantage grip possible. We want the best for you, man. Yeah. But yeah, they reset and it's about 14-20 mark. And then they land in this half butterfly. He's attacking that forearm. And Jacob Couch is able to start getting his game going.
Yeah. Because he's able to get back to a position that he feels comfortable in.
Yeah. And he just starts running the same sequences, same game that he was running against everyone else.
Yeah. Trying to pull the far arm, trying to skip the far leg. And to his credit, Garmo's doing a pretty good job of denying those grips.
Yeah.
So Couch likes to go to full butterfly.
To get double unders.
Double unders. And then this sequence is pretty cool to me.
Yeah.
Kind of uses double underhooks to off balance him to a shoulder crunch. So just like a really deep underhook on one side, right? So
Yeah.
kind of off balances to a really deep underhook, and then off balances again to the shoulder crunch.
Throws his leg over.
Yeah, and then extracts one of his legs, turn to a triangle, gets slammed again, but this is pretty deep. And there's a cool detail here that I like, which is that he is focusing on that wrist the entire time, right? His left hand's on the wrist. He's constantly pulling it across his hip. And then before he scoops, switches it to his far hand.
Yeah.
Right? So that he can maintain where that arm is. Because what Garmo would want to do is start to push that elbow out, right, to kind of break that angle that Couch has with his legs, to start generating some defensive reaction there. So Couch very adamant on pulling that arm across his hip so that elbow cannot drift out and break his legs apart.
Yeah.
So he almost prioritizes that more than the scoop, right? I'm going to replace hands and then scoop.
I will say this, though. If you have the option, he even does it here. He tries to prioritize his head, but he can't reach it.
Yeah, because Garmo immediately stands up, he has to go to the wrist. But, Yeah, like Keegan was saying, much better grip would be the head or the shin.
Yeah, you see him go to reach for it. He gets the shin locked up, and then he goes for the head, but misses, and that's when he goes to the hand.
Yeah.
So, it's mean. It'll hurt your partner's neck, so be kind of careful with it in the training room. Depends on how bad you want the triangle. Depends how bad. The other day, I wanted one really bad, and then I felt bad afterwards because I was really pulling on the back of someone. Yeah, so death gripping it. But so if you can sleep at night, you go. I recommend always grabbing the back of the head, but he goes for this wrist, and it has the same function. It's not going to be as strong, but it keeps him in the triangle.
Yeah.
Instead of sliding out, right? But yeah, and it's pretty tight. It's a pretty tight triangle because you can't even see his shoulder in it like that. It's good, but like great showing by him, Garmo.
Yeah, really good match by Garmo.
I'm probably gonna like start following him or something.
Very defensively sound. Very good initiative on taking his game to couch instead of just playing cagey and defensive. Yeah, really good showing by Garmo there.
Yep. And then we're now at the 16-minute mark, and we're starting with Jacob versus J-Rod. And so this episode is not about J-Rod. We'll cover him in the future.
Yeah.
He's going to be one of those guys we cover eventually, but right now we're not covering him, but he's very good.
Very, very good. These
two have competed before, just a little background, but Jacob beat him before. And it was like at a time when J-Rod was still pretty fresh, but yeah. All right, we're starting up now, and they're standing. What do we notice that Jacob doesn't do with this match?
Yeah, he does not reach with his rear hand.
Yes,
he is completely comfortable reaching with both hands and leaving kind of shots open.
Yes.
He is very relaxed in his stand-up, which is something I did take note of, especially in the finals match, which we'll get to. Kind of almost doesn't care what positioning J-Rod gets to.
And I'll even say this. He doesn't sit guard.
Does not sit guard.
Which is, I don't know if it's an FU or what, because he sat guard against everyone.
Yeah.
But J-Rod, who's known to be a really good wrestler.
Really good wrestler. And I would say really good passing.
Yes.
Really good passing because J-Rod is really good at outside passing, right? And generating a lot of movement and forcing reactions from the bottom player. So probably a consideration that Couch had here.
I did not think about that. But
I do not want to deal with that with J-Rod. So...
And he's got to
try to wrestle him back.
He's got gas tank for days doing that too. Also, I'm going to mention this at the 16-15 mark. Jacob Couch goes for this 2-on-1, which is a great way to slow someone down, but also has history with J-Rod. The last match that I noticed someone adamantly favoring 2-on-1 so hard was Pedro Mourinho versus J-Rod. And this was in ADCC last year.
Yeah.
Pedro ended up taking the win there. But I would not be surprised if that was something they thought about before coming into this match, was watching tape and seeing the reactions that J-Rod gave off that 2-on-1. So, and, Couch is known for having a pretty good guillotine too.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they were trying to combine the two in the same way Pedro tried to in that ADCC match. But J-Rod's able to get a good underhook here. Tried to get a trip. Yeah. Hand fighting around the 17-minute mark now. Just pushing each other back. No shots. All upper body grips.
Yeah.
Very, feels very Greco-y to me.
Yeah, very Greco. Again, another 2-on-1 here. Couch really favoring 2-on-1s and overhooks.
Okay, right here. Okay. We don't have audio for this match, right? Playing right now. But at this point, this exact point, he gets this overhook. Jacob Couch gets this overhook on this arm. As soon as he gets this, you hear Damien yell, he's going to jump close guard.
Yeah.
He says it immediately. And then like less than a second later or so, he just does it. It's like, right?
Yeah.
Here he says, he's going to jump closed. And then he does.
And he does. Yep.
Again, overhooks, close guard.
Yep.
I love this. I kind of love this.
Yeah.
I don't know whose idea this was, but I guess it kind of works. But it's kind of squat.
Yeah, it's a very interesting defense of the close guard here.
We have it paused at the 12:40 mark. Or
to be fair,
mark.
Does kind of make sense.
Yeah.
Because it does kind of deny the scoop
Mm-hmm.
on the leg because of the fact he's in a deep squat, not standing up. And his arms, to a degree, are also kind of defended because they're now straight behind Couch, right?
Yeah.
So, interesting defense, but kind of effective if you think about it.
Yeah, no, I was thinking the same thing when I saw it, and I was like, it's one of those things where you watch someone do something that is like, and this is why I think there's an advantage, and why I want to cover J-Rod at some point. There's an advantage of watching people that are new to the game because they do things that you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Or that haven't been taught to them. They just do things athletically that are just natural, and this, like, no one fucking taught him this shit. I'm sorry. Like, most people taught you to step out here or step out here, right? With these legs, get a little wider. You know, no one teaches you just a frog squat.
Yeah, just
Yeah, so it might be something I might try and play with too. It's a fun idea. Yeah. And then it allows him to stand just straight up.
Yeah, it allows him to just go straight vertical, which I'm sure on most people probably works.
Yeah.
Pretty well. But Couch, really good close guard. And something I do want to point out here, if you back it up like 2 seconds, is that while he was in the frog squat here, Couch is digging for that far arm. I imagine probably a Kimura grip because he's over that shoulder.
Yeah.
So his right hand is on Jay's wrist here, and as Jay goes to stand up, it immediately scoops the leg. Right? He goes wrist, and then leg as soon as he stands.
And also, he does let him go, but this is a good grip by J-Rod too. Or this post that he gets on the armpit.
Yeah.
It's a really good there.
Yeah, that armpit post.
Yeah. But then he's...
but Couch, like a magnet on the legs.
Yeah.
This sequence being very impressive to me because that K-guard entry from Diaz here, right, of swing that outside leg around, I found personally you have to be very tight on that leg in order for the top person not just like run away and free it. So the fact that on the entry, Couch does not have the knee line.
Yeah.
Right? When he throws the top leg over, it's like behind J-Rod's knee. So as this plays here, right? Boom. Right? So J-Rod's knee is free. Right? So you would think, as athletic as J-Rod is, that he was going to free his leg here. But I would say almost kind of miraculously, in these spins, Couch somehow recovers Jay's knee line through these multiple spins. Which
like
really
he
just goes
gets
to
tighter.
show you. Yeah, he gets tighter on the spins, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Which really just goes to show like how good Couch is at leg locks.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he recovered that entry and somehow got deeper on the leg is kind of mind blowing.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said too about we're hitting normal speed now at the 18-minute mark. Like something to be said too about going into this. Like I think J-Rod is actually also notorious for having really good heel hook defense.
Yeah,
like it's hard to heel hook him, which also I think explains why the match ends in the way it does.
Yeah.
Right. Jacob elects to go for a straight ankle. Because he tries and tries and tries to get the heel hook, but...
Yeah. So the previous moment there, where their backs were turned, is you can't really see anything because the camera isn't, where the action is. But Couch presumably separating legs, trying to go for a heel hook, and then Jay starts initiating spins to hide his heel.
Yeah, again, they're in this like 50-50, and then he ends up tossing it to the other side to try and chase the straight ankle after he chases this heel hook over and over. Yeah. They're in this position around 1838 mark, and he passes the leg over to the other side for an outside Ashi attack instead. And this is where he gets his like straight ankle grip. Yeah, and then J-Rod tries to pass to the back.
Yeah, and Jay, to his credit, trying to get the angle here, trying to keep that leg away from his hip. But Couch, just very good at outside Ashi. Taking the outside leg to a butterfly hook to kind of maintain space. You'll see trying to work that inside leg to the hip, which he does here. Which is a great movement here. If Couch hadn't done this, of moving that top leg to J-Rod's hip, J-Rod probably could have gotten an angle there towards his back, right? Which he's starting to here. So Couch immediately takes that left leg and kind of like back heels it to get that foot on the hip to maintain some extra space as he gets a tighter bite on the ankle. Right here. Now his hands are locked. So now Jay has to think about the submission. And then Couch forces belly down. And I'm pretty sure it injured him pretty bad there, actually.
Yeah. It was at the point that I think it popped. Like, it probably popped a couple times. Like, even here.
Yeah. Well, I do think I watched some B-Team video later. And I believe Jay said that he popped it pretty bad there.
Yeah. And when you're watching this with audio, you can hear BJJ or Damien, his cornerman, J-Rod's cornerman. It's kind of hard not to hear him because he's just yelling.
Yeah.
He's screaming. But he's screaming for this kind of position.
Yeah, he is continuously screaming as soon as he gets the straight ankle threat of belly up, stay belly up. You have to go belly up because... belly up, you can at least sort of fight hands.
Yeah.
Stay somewhat defensive. But as soon as you go belly down, now the hands are very far away from you, right? You cannot access hands anymore.
Yeah.
And the break becomes much more severe because they could bridge their hips into it. Really kind of put their whole body into it, right? Their back and their hips.
And again, how we were talking about good straight ankles. Oh, I can't see it. But you see it almost everywhere else too. But I think you get to see it a good bit right there. Okay. Yeah, that's tight as hell.
Yeah.
So that's at the 1915 mark. So if you want a good picture of where your arm should be placed on someone's ankle, there we go. Like, not versus the Kynan one, he was higher up. This one, he's way, way, way down to literally the heel is probably touching the back of his arm.
Yeah.
Or the back of his wrist. Right. That's what you want. And that's very good. And if it looks straight like this, your foot's not supposed to do that. Yeah. So that is tight. Like, this is straight, and I don't even know how it even flexes even further, right? So yeah,
it's a very, very tight.
Like, that's got a curve. Yeah, that's not okay.
Yeah,
that's very powerful, but very good.
Yeah, and something that you're seeing more and more prevalent. Couch does this. Mateusz Szczecinski is like famous for this. But that kind of figure four grip on the straight ankle.
Yeah.
which just makes it like super, super powerful, right? Because obviously you could, kind of like ball and socket your hands, maybe connect your hands. But I've found playing around with it, and Mateus and Jacob have mentioned this in videos that the figure four grip, which for a while was kind of like almost like an old school thing, is now kind of making a resurgence, because of the fact that it kind of connects like your whole upper body to it, right?
Yeah.
It really allows you to really bridge with your back, into that lock.
And I would make the argument, I think the reason why it lost favor is because people weren't using it correctly, because they were being lazy with it, where they were forgetting the actual key mechanics that you need.
Yeah,
right.
So being high up on the foot. They think if I just get this grip, it can still be a lazy grip if you don't do it right. Right. Like there's still some like minor adjustments that people have forgotten along the way. And so like it still has to be, tight, but also like I think rotating the arm up and stuff like that, like things people were forgetting to do. Yeah.
And compromise the grip.
And actually, something you can kind of almost even see here is, because I've seen a video where Couch mentioned this before, is that in this case his left hand with this grip is not just like connecting his hands, but that left hand is actively pushing into the shin.
Yeah.
To like force an outwards rotation of the foot.
Yeah.
Right. So both of his hands are kind of actively doing something. Right. His top hand is maintaining height, but his left hand is actively pushing against the shin, which one makes it tighter, and two kind of like forces outwards rotation of the foot.
Which also, I mean, unintended consequence too is even if they are able to turn the other way, you're just exposing other options in the heel too. Because then if you force your knee the other way, you're just exposing heel exposure. No, that's a great detail. Right there.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Now we're moving on to the finals match versus Victor Hugo. Maybe I'm stupid. I never thought, for some reason, I thought Victor Hugo was so much bigger.
That's Elder Cruz.
Oh, Elder Cruz. Sorry. No, you're right.
Yeah.
Sorry. But Elder Cruz, I still thought was bigger.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah.
I thought he was like a heavyweight. So when I saw him going against Elder Cruz, I'm like, what?
Yeah, so again, as you can see, Couch almost completely upright, just reaching with both hands, right? Because of the fact that he's very confident, I think in his wrestling and in his ability to like recover position, right?
I would make a different argument though. It would be he can't pull guard in finals.
Yeah, which is what I was gonna get to.
Okay,
right. He can't pull guard in finals, so he'll get a penalty. So okay, I'm wrestling now, right? Okay. Oh, you have a single leg. Oh no. Okay, now you can play guard.
I'm losing my balance. He doesn't fight this at all. Watch.
Yeah, he almost pulls himself down to the ground.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, now I can play guard. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, you got me. And again, Elder Cruz is just working on his outside stuff right now. Again, staying on his feet. And you notice, I don't think this is a coincidence either. We are at the 20-30 mark. We're going to pause real fast. Maybe this is at the end. As he goes through the tournament, as he gets to the higher levels of the tournament, everyone attacks from their feet.
Yeah.
When we start at those lower levels of the tournament, you got guys starting from their knees. That's no coincidence. It's because you don't want to body lock or try to pass Jacob on your knees.
Yeah.
You want to do it on your feet.
Yeah. You really want to prioritize outside passing first.
Yeah.
And then, if that doesn't work or if they force engagement, okay, now I'll try to pass from my knees. But, Yeah, initially, pass from your feet.
Try to pass from your feet always. Like, that's my recommendation, even as someone who hates to pass from their feet. Tip, pass from your feet first. If you're not trying to pass from your feet, you're being lazy. You're just lazy. That's what I do. I just step into someone's guard because I'm lazy. Don't be me. Try to outside pass. Yeah. He forces him to his knees, and so Cruz actually does a good job, too, of just keeping his head down and forward.
Yeah, keeping his head in his chin. Doing a really good job of denying position. You see your something I mentioned a little bit earlier is Couch with that 2-on-1, almost trying to force a crossface. Right, keeps trying to pull that hand up towards his head to score a kind of shoulder crunch position, but Cruz, to his credit, doing a really good job of pulling the hand back.
Two on one, just pulling it across. Constantly.
Trying to scoop. Cruz denies that.
But he does like get good positions on Jacob. He just can't capitalize on him. Yeah. Like there's a couple times where that knee shield drifts and he gets a decent underhook, but he's not able to get the crossface.
Yeah. Well, I think to his credit, I think Cruz recognizes that Jacob wants the crossface, right?
Yeah.
To enter into like shoulder crunch, arm saddle
like
stuff.
Here.
So he's almost like afraid to, or cautious to put on the crossface when he gets an underhook because he realizes, oh, he wants that, so why do I want to give it to him?
Yeah. Yeah, and we're at the 21 mark. This is a 21:58 mark. Like this is a good position to be in half guard.
Yeah, this is a good passing
for
position.
Cruz. Like he wants to be here.
Yeah,
and this is like, you know what's crazy to say? This is like one of the only times Couch is actually in danger in this entire trials, other than like maybe some like leg exchanges with Garmo.
Yeah,
but again, that wasn't as bad as this. Like so. That's crazy. It just shows how dominant this kind of run was. That this is the first time he's actually in a place where like, oh no, I might be scored on. Yeah.
You see for a second there, almost did get a crossface.
And maybe I'm wrong, but maybe I'd make the argument that Cruz is doing a good job here. He needs to stop backing out as much. And just let Couch do his spazness. But then he gets an underhook here, and that's when he starts to lose. I like that. Going back to the...
Yeah, you almost does like a smother for a second there.
At the 22:20 mark, it's ADCC. You do your thing. It's the finals. Who cares?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, and he really doesn't want Jacob Couch to have his right arm at all.
Yeah. Because there is kind of a double threat here, right? Of one, he can pull it to a crossface to go like shoulder crunch arm saddle, or because I think I've noticed it once or twice here, he almost also wants to pull it over his head to then scoop the leg.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And this is what he's trying to do there. Just control it. I think he wants it more over than he wants the shoulder crunch. He wants the legs. Yeah, I don't know what Cruz can do from here other than beat him, which is what he's trying. Or beat him. Sorry, that sounds stupid. But beat him to this crossface with no grips on it.
Yeah.
And have this underhook here. And get your hips low. And like to me, it seems like he's fighting the right battle. Like I don't think he's doing anything wrong.
Yeah, to his credit, he's doing a good job of denying the grips that Couch wants and trying to like incrementally work his way to the grips that he wants. Right?
And
like he's consistently getting that underhook because Couch is kind of playing like an outside half guard.
And that's probably why Couch actually elects to go to closed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think he realizes, okay, this isn't working. So it likes to take an underhook and then boom, forces close guard.
Yeah.
Where now it's going to be much harder for Cruz to back those legs away because Couch now has better hip position.
Again, attacking cross arm, trying to get that arm across center line. So he can either attack the leg, go into a K, or go into like flower. Yeah, there's a bunch of options from close guard. He steps up, enters K guard.
Yep. And it's an interesting dilemma, right? Because from Cruz's perspective, like he has to stand.
Yeah.
Right? He can't just sit in close guard forever, right?
Yeah.
Especially given the fact that it's finals, right? So he, at some point, he has to stand up if he wants to pass close guard, which is going to give Couch the K entry. Right? Yeah. And I will say, interesting thing with this K entry is that when he scoops, he throws the left leg over and then brings his K hook through the middle.
Yeah.
Instead of kind of going around like backside 50-50, right? So kind of forces outside Ashi and then immediately digs the heel.
Yeah. And dude, when he gets to outside Ashi, how fast he gets finishes, it's like...
Yeah, it's like right away. It's crazy.
His grips must feel so dangerous. Yeah. There he goes. Going to ADCC.
Yeah.
You know, and again, he kind of just he was able to play his game nearly the entire time. He didn't like watching it even back this second time, or like this would be the third time I've watched this. Like, you know, he just didn't feel like he really struggled.
Yeah, and again, like the moments where he was given the most trouble are people not playing into his game, right? People forcing outside passing,
yep,
and taking offense to him, right? Like Garmo electing to try to leg lock him, try to attack him, right? Instead of just passing through the middle or trying to pass tight, right? Outside passing, bringing offense to him instead of just defending, is when he had the most trouble. But I mean, Couch is just that good.
Yeah. We're gonna go right into our takeaways from this one. Let's just talk about his game in general and how easily and we can just name it. Like it's so obvious to see. You can just like watch the matches, but you can just name it. It's half guard to butterfly half to K guard or close guard to K guard. He's just trying to get to K guard, trying to get to leg entries. He's trying to scoop that far leg. He's trying to scoop that far arm while controlling the other. Like it's always a diagonal or a cross that he's trying to control. And he just does it so consistently.
And a very connection heavy game, right? 2-on-1s, half guard, close guard, leg entries. Is a game very much around connecting his body to your hips or to one of your limbs, right? Which is why, like, outside passing or threatening him back were the things that gave him the most trouble, right? Because it takes him away from that connection that he's looking for.
And also, I think it's obvious too that it's like he's an isometrically kind of stronger guy.
Yeah.
He's not, even in the stand-up, he's not built for speed. He's built to just squeeze, grab, control, constrict people. He's not trying to be explosive, just like explode to your back or anything like that. He'll take it, but his ability to finish just from the outside Ashi is really like, it's hard to compare him to other people because of just how fast he does it. Like, I mean, I think of Gordon Ryan, of course.
Yeah.
Like, there's some people that leg lockers, there's like people who are new to leg locking, like it's hard to explain. Like it's like a tree, right? Like there's roots, there's branches, right? And you always kind of specialize. Even though you might specialize as a leg locker, there's even things in leg locking that you specialize.
Within leg locking that you kind of gravitate towards.
Like maybe you gravitate towards the 50-50. Maybe you gravitate towards the inside saddle, or maybe you branch off into the outside ashi, which is what he does as of now, and just got very good finishing mechanics from there. And I think we're seeing a resurgence of this kind of branch because the other branches, people are getting better at defending them.
Yeah. And something to his credit that I think allows him to use outside ashi so effectively is the fact that he also has a really good straight ankle.
Yeah.
Right? Because if his only threat from there was a heel hook, right, and he's just constantly digging heel hooks, one, he's really good at doing that. But there would, to a degree, be some sort of threat of back exposure, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that he can always has the threat of switching back to an ankle lock kind of negates that back exposure, right? Because, you can't, fully take someone's back if they have your foot.
Yeah.
Right? So I think him having both those threats is what allows him to really play outside ashi so effectively.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because it's like when you think about the guys right now that are killing from outside ashi, you think of Shizinski too, right? And again, straight ankle, heel hook.
Yeah.
Straight ankle, heel hook, just back and forth. Yeah. So if you guys are wanting to work on your outside ashi, you need to work on the combination of straight ankle and heel hook, and also be active with your feet.
Very active with your feet.
Otherwise, they are going to get to your back.
Yeah. Like something you see from Couch, especially in the J-Rod match, is going to like that kind of butterfly ashi, right?
Yeah.
Like the outside leg coming back in, the inside leg back heeling to the hip, right, to keep distance.
Yeah.
Like you have to be very active with your feet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You constantly be hooking with your feet if you're trying your outside ashi. If you just throw your feet to the outside of the hip and you just strain them like Kynan did against Marigali, you're just going to get passed. Like they're just going to crowd you. Really think about the hooks. Always be attacking the foot because that's going to keep people on their toes and stuff like that, but always be trying to create distance somehow, posting.
Yeah. And to even kind of further that idea, like if you noticed in the J-Rod match, the only moment that he does cross his feet and go is once he has his hands fully locked.
Yeah.
Right? Like when he knows, okay, I have this ankle,
I can
is
hit.
when he crosses his feet and goes. Right. Before that, he's always pummeling, trying to keep distance until he locks his hands, and then the feet cross and he goes.
Also, I have that X on shin.
Yeah, that kind of double shin on shin.
Definitely something I want to try. I guess I'll even impart something too. That's just like the way I think about jiu-jitsu is, grip, position, grip, position, grip. And it just like is a cycle, right? So if you're wanting a place to start, always just think about grips themselves. And so this X is just a grip to think about.
Yeah.
Because it leads to other positions. Do I care what other positions it leads to right now? No, I'll figure that out. But it's a grip to start. And the way he uses it to enter the legs and just keep his opponent from Toriando passing, from moving.
Yeah, because it kind of staples that foot in place, right? It's like, okay, you're doing outside passing. All right, I'm going to double shin on shin. Now that foot is right there, right? You can't really move it around now. And then I can either pull into half or...
Yeah. Or grab K or go the other leg. Yeah. No. It's a really good position. Okay. I'm going to mention this. I just want to see how you feel about it. I don't think it's no mystery that he loves to play guard. Like he pulls guard the entire time.
Yeah.
People would have a problem with his game, I think, if they go, oh, he's just pulling guard all the time in ADCC. Well, he's allowed to do it. And if you have a problem with your opponent pulling guard, get better at passing. That's my opinion. Like, you have no one to blame but yourself if your opponent pulls guard and you can't score on them. That's your own fault. It's not his fault for pulling guard. He's giving you a top position, and he's good. He's very good. He's very gifted, but you lost the points because you couldn't pass, right? Yeah. You conceded the sweep. So I don't know. If people have a problem with Jacob Couch pulling guard, like, just get better at passing guard. Stop complaining.
Yeah. Get better at passing. Get better at leg lock defense.
Yeah. You can leg lock your way in if you want to, like Garmo did. Try to leg lock your way in, create a scramble. It's your own fault that you can't pass someone's guard. You're being lazy. Just what I'm going to say on the subject, right? This is coming from a guard puller, right? I pull guard a lot, but at the same time, if someone pulls guard, I don't go pull guard back. I try to pass.
Yeah, you try to pass.
Thanks for the top position, bro. I'm going to use it. Is there anything else you want to cover?
I think we kind of hit all the points. He's him and Mika have kind of inspired me to play more close guard, like personally in the gym and all that. I've noticed from watching Couch, and I think kind of subconsciously I was, picking this up before, but I definitely, I think, do a lot, or a lot of my games are kind of from him, and kind of like similar styles. So definitely for myself, someone to watch, to pick up ways to improve my own game.
Yeah.
The straight ankle threat and
I was gonna say, we were talking about it before the podcast started. I was telling Jack, like, your game is literally just Couch's game. Like, right now, it's like literally the same thing. Just from half guard, it's the same exact. The shoulder crunches, the controlling of the far end, controlling this one, levers, crunching, like getting the half butterfly in, scooping the far. It's all the same. Like, even like you've been favoring outside Ashi recently, and I think that came more from you watching Shizinski more than anyone.
I would say probably Shizinski.
But it's so funny how it just ties just into what Jacob Couch does.
And I will say, like, I started to try outside positioning because of Shizinski, but I think I got it to work because of Couch.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't think he actually does it in any of these, but there's a grip that Couch does in particular that really kind of changed my straight ankle and like my outside positioning, which is not just like figure fouring, but like rolling the like straight ankling hand over. I saw it in like a random YouTube video of him and Heath talking about it, and like completely changed my straight ankle.
Yeah.
Because, at least for myself, it allows turning belly down like way easier. Because if you think about it, right, like if you just figure four your hands, your elbow is still pointing out, right? So it could be somewhat difficult to turn all the way over. Whereas if you turn that hand over, it points your elbow towards yourself, and so it like really allows you to turn over and force belly down position. Obviously, I think he's just really good at forcing it anyway. But that detail of rolling the wrist over, like, completely changed my straight ankle.
Yeah. Very good. All right, let's just talk about Jacob Couch as an athlete. I like to end all these by like talking about the personal, like, where this athlete goes from here. And it's obvious he's going to ADCC. He had a very dominant run here. We'll see what happens at ADCC. I don't know if he'll be completely dominant at ADCC, I'll be honest.
Yeah. So I will say it's always difficult for trials winners because you are then paired with higher seeded guys. So especially like East Coast or West Coast trials, like he's probably going to get paired with like a former champ.
Is he in 88?
Yeah, he's in 88. So, could have a pretty difficult first round. There's potential that he might even be paired up with like Giancarlo, or, someone else of that caliber, like, first round. But that being said, he is really good.
Yeah.
And
Not taking anything away from him. He's still really good.
really good, and I think personally has a pretty decent chance because of the fact that his game is so focused on like a very specific cycle. That like if he gets anybody anywhere close to half butterfly or close guard, he has a really high chance of submitting them.
Yeah. No, I think he's very talented. I'll just say like he's very good. He's very good. I'm not taking that away from him. I just never got he got his game going and everything. It just didn't ever feel like he was actually like dominating even when he was. I don't know. It sounds weird to me. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's one of those things where I feel like I see holes in his game. Like when he meets someone who's a really good outside passer or like studies the footage like this, I think you can find holes in his game, like, and take advantage of them. But which is like, Cruz, like he had a really good position on him, and then he kind of lost it. Like,
Yeah.
he had a really good position on him. I also think, like, if you get someone who's Toriando, and like someone who is an ADCC vet and is able to stay at range and then force him into a wrestling exchange and beat him on points too, like
someone like Isaac.
yeah, or something like that.
If he gets Isaac first round, that could be pretty bad for him.
Yeah,
Because Isaac is kind of like almost kind of a perfect counter where he's really good at all of the things that Jacob doesn't want to happen.
yeah,
Right? Outside passing, forcing wrestling,
aggressiveness.
So
Yeah. Also too, Isaac beat him that one match. And
Isaac has beaten him in a match. So
and he did not make it look that hard.
Yeah.
But also Isaac's just a freak.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I think Couch is a great athlete. I say everyone should watch him. He's got great stuff. Oh, actually, I kind of this might take the podcast a little longer, but I want to talk about a really cool dynamic in jiu-jitsu, especially with competing. This is like weird philosophy thing, but when we see two types of athletes compete, I always equate it to there's nerds and cowboys, right? There's jiu-jitsu nerds and then there's like jiu-jitsu cowboys. Like there's athletes versus the people who think through their game who aren't necessarily athletes. And I find that Couch is one of those guys that's the nerd, like Lachlan, like these guys that are technically really talented, really good. And a lot of the time you'll see those matchups occur where it's the technician versus the brute force. Yeah. Right. And I just wanted to say that like Jacob Couch is like the nerd beating people who try to beat him with brute force. And that to me is always like inspiring to watch guys like that. Yeah. Like, and so to all those like jiu-jitsu nerds out there, Jacob Couch is beating really good guys by outthinking his opponents and using very very even simple ways to enter legs, which can be added to your game. It's not going to take much drilling. Like
all of his entries are something you could drill and start implementing pretty soon.
Yeah, right? Like it doesn't take much inversions or anything. Like it's no Lachlan game where you're just like sliding on other people. You're going to backside 50-50, which I'll never do. Maybe not now, but like that's just not something that interests me. But like stuff like Jacob Couch is like very brute, like very like I really like it. And so but yeah, so he's fighting for all the like the nerds out there at ADCC. Like Gordon was a nerd, and then he entered the super soldier program. But like, so Keenan is another example of these nerds that are using like new techniques to dominate guys that are much stronger and better athletes than them. So I think that's why Jacob Couch is one of those guys people should watch. Train your brain with these guys, because then even if you are a really strong person, you add this, you're just going to start destroying people.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's all I really have to say. You have anything you want to leave off on?
I mean, I guess just kind of echoing that point. Like personally, I think I kind of follow a very similar philosophy of trying to improve my technique in my game more so than like just my athleticism. Right? Like obviously, I want to be like in shape and like an athlete for the sport, but I would rather, um, my game be able to beat people than
Pure strength.
just pure strength and being an athlete.
And I find if you have pure technique and you add strength to it, then it just becomes unbeatable.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's kind of hard to have pure strength and then develop technique. But train both and you'll become unstoppable. If you just try to do one without training your brain, you're going to get destroyed by people who are much weaker, much smarter than you. Happens all the time. I'll just do the shout out. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Takes you like 2-3 seconds, but also really helps us out here. Also check out the Patreon. We have stuff coming up, exclusive chats. You'll be able to DM us. You'll be able to request matches in the future. Like if you want something covered, if you have personal questions for us, we'll be able to get to you. The podcast is actually getting bigger than I thought it was going to be really fast. So I at first thought it would be open for us to take DMs, but it's filling up, like feeling like we're going to have to do that on Patreon. So any shout outs, if you see any like stuff on Instagram, send it to your friends. Also, best way to spread like this podcast and what we do is by word of mouth. Like if you meet people at the gym who will benefit from film study, let them know, because that's the best way to pass it on to your friends, and we all get better. So if you find someone that would enjoy a podcast like this, just send it their way, and it would help us a lot.
For sure.
So thank you for joining us for the Jiu Jitsu Journal. We will be back next week with new matches. We are going over a couple, but if you have any recommendations, hit us up. Thank you.